When is the best time to buy rental property? Yes, there is a real answer to this question. I know everyone says that real estate is all about location, but I'm here to tell you timing matters too. And I'm going to tell you all of the secrets to when the best time is. Let's go. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of buying rental property and why timing really does matter. I'm going to give you 3 things that you need to look at and review, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to look at them so you don't make any mistakes. And I'm going to share with you my secret sauce on how to buy profitable real estate properties at a discount so that you can make a profit. So the first thing that we have to talk about when we are talking about buying rental property is, what is your goal? Okay, you got to tell me what your goal is. You need to know what your goal is when you are investing in real estate. So when you're talking about rental property, most people want passive income. Okay, they usually want a tenant in the property, paying more than the mortgage payment, of course, paying their rent and being able to cover both the mortgage and the expense of the property. And that is very important because it is a great way to kind of build your cash flow and to grow your wealth. It was one of the amazing things that I feel like I finally got right in my life when I figured out real estate investing. I got out of my parents' basement, got myself together, and I got some rental properties eventually and was able to quit my job. And so rental properties are an amazing way to build your wealth, to get cash flow. And I'm going to give you another thing. It's a great way to get money, okay? One of the things that you want to do is make sure that you are buying the right rental properties so that you can sell those properties and get those lump sums of cash, okay? There's nothing more fun than getting a property, keeping it for a few years, and then selling that bad boy and walking away with a really big check and doing the same thing over and over again. It's super fun and it's an amazing business to be in. And the great thing about it is it allows you a lot of freedom, okay? One of the great things about real estate investing that I've enjoyed so much now that I quit my job is how much free time that I have to do what I want to do. So this is why you want to do this. So when we are talking about the best time to buy rental property, it is super important to know that timing does matter. And the best time usually to buy is not necessarily the best time to sell. So if we're talking about buying and selling property, the timing of doing those two activities is not the same, and you really need to know the difference. Starting now when we are talking about buying means getting into the game, making a decision that this is what you want to do. I'm going to give you some caveats on when the best time seasonally is, but know that now is the best time to get started. Actually, 7 years ago or 5 years ago was probably the best time for you. But as the old saying goes, that's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. The same thing applies for real estate. If you haven't started investing in real estate, now is the time to get started. So if you are a first-time home buyer or you are someone that has not purchased properties before, but you have the ability to, meaning you have a steady employment, you have steady income, you have some money to put down, then you by all means should take advantage, especially if you don't already have a home, of all of the first-time home buyer programs that are out there, meaning there's tons of mortgages and financing options available for you to buy your first home purchase. And this is a great time to get started. If you don't have a home and this is your first time, go ahead and get yourself connected with your local real estate agent, your local loan officer to get approved for a mortgage loan and get started with your first property that you're going to live in. And then know that you're buying that property with the intention to eventually turn it into a rental property. This is a very smart way to get started investing in real estate. If you don't have a home now and you know that you want to be a real estate investor, you know that you want to start making money in real estate, then start buying all of your properties that way. Don't spend too much on them. Start thinking like a real estate investor. So when we're talking about timing of buying real estate, we know that winter is probably the best time, especially for a real estate investor. I know that sounds a little bit crazy because most people will tell you that the winter time and the winter months are the slow season in real estate. And that is very true. It is the slow season in real estate. A lot of the people that are just buying homes, before the kids, move out of college and all this other stuff, most of those people buy during March and August, okay? So as a real estate investor, we actually like buying property in the winter months. And the reason that is because things are slower and there's less competition, okay? Less competition is really good for you when you're thinking the smart way and you're thinking like a real estate investor. You want to buy property in those winter months. I found some of my best deals in December, okay? There's less competition, less people are buying. A lot of your civilian buyers, people that are just buying a home for themselves, not thinking like a real estate investor, those people buy in the spring and the summer months. So as a real estate investor, when you're looking for rental properties to start buying and making acquisitions, a good time to buy is when they are not in the market buying properties and you can snag up properties with less negotiations and less competition. So let me give you some quick rules for buying at the right price, because yes, we know that those winter months are down, but the reason why you would buy during the slower season is so that you have more buying power, so that you have more negotiation power. The less competition that you have, meaning people are not sending in tons and tons of offers on that property, the better you can negotiate, okay? And this is the time when real estate investors, we really make our money. We start to buy properties in the slower months when there's less competition, but that's when we start trying to buy properties right. You have to buy properties right. And what I mean by right is at a discount. When we are talking about buying rental property, it is super important to make sure that you buy the property right. You don't spend too much and you get it at a discount. Let me tell you what that means. When you're buying rental property, it's super important to buy below the market price, okay? So when you are talking about buying below the market price, if you have a property that is worth or is valued at the market value, for example, is $200,000, you want to get at least a 10 or 15% discount on that price in order for you to start making money on that property. The last thing that you want to do when you are buying rental properties is overpay for them, okay? It is super important, and a lot of seasoned investors often try to take advantage, I'm gonna say that nicely, they try to take advantage of new investors by giving them properties that are overpriced and over leveraged. So be very careful and make sure that when you are buying your rental properties, you buy that at a discount. That was probably the biggest mistake that I made, and that is how I ended up in my parents' basement with plenty of foreclosures and a bankruptcy. I did not buy my properties at the right price. I did not get them at a discount. You will not make the same mistake. The second important thing when we're talking about buying a property correctly is you have to get a minimum return of investment, ROI, of at least 15%, okay? That is like your bare minimum number, your return on investment. So when you yourself are saying, okay, I'm going to finance this property, I'm going to get a mortgage, or I'm going to get investors, you need to make sure you're making at least 15% return on investment each year. So if you're spending, $10,000 or $100,000, you need to be at least making 15% profit on that money, okay? Not going to get into the long calculation, but know that 15% ROI is your minimum target. And then last but not least, when you're getting rental property and you're looking for the best time and you're thinking about the best properties, a very important point is to buy small. Kind of start small. If this is your first rental property, you do not want to spend millions of dollars. You do not want to go find properties that are super expensive and at the top of your budget. You really want to start seeing what you can find, like I said, off market, below market prices, maybe find some people that are in some financial distress that want to sell the property, or maybe if the property needs a little bit of work and you and your crew can go in there and fix it up so that you're in a good equity position, okay? Meaning that you have equity in the property. You're not, you don't owe $1 million and it's worth $1 million. You want to have some equity where maybe you paid $750 for it and it's worth $1 million. So you have $250,000 worth of equity. I know that sounds crazy, but that's not hard to do when it comes to apartments and when it comes to commercial real estate. So start thinking about that and know that your first properties are probably going to be B and C class properties. One of the things that we do as real estate investors is we grade investment properties, especially the commercial residential. We have A, B, and C. A's properties are those beautiful, nice complexes that you see with the pools and the tennis courts and the rock climbing, all of those great amenities. And we absolutely love those properties. But when we're talking about you starting out and these targets that I'm giving you, look for B and C properties, okay? Do not start with the big stuff. You don't need to spend a lot to make a lot. So if you can't buy a property yet, but you still want to do real estate investing, there are tons of options available for you. In fact, I've created an entire training. It's about an hour long. You can go to noellsfreetraining.com and I will teach you some of the ways to start getting properties now for free without spending a lot of money, without using your credit and things like that. I've made a complete course just for you. Go to noellsfreetraining.com. Make sure you have like an hour set aside to do it. It was a little bit too much for me to put here on YouTube, but I want to make sure that you guys are getting all of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the resources that you need to be successful. I've made a lot of money in real estate and I want you to do the same thing. This is Noelle, to your success.